Salim Omar here from the Straight Talk podcast. Welcome. I am super excited. We have an amazing guest with the topic that's going to be kind of out of the box. First, his name is Jason Hopkins. Jason, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Great. So the topic is a little not the usual topic that I would bring in. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Jason's a motivator. He's a catalyst for cultural change within organization. He believes that connection to one's self, transparency, and one's passion to connect allows individuals to live a wholly authentic, full life. He creates systems of people working to deepen their relationship to their work, their plan, and ultimately their world. He presently serves as a nonprofit president to an organization by the name of NAMI, it's National Alliance on Mental Illness. So Jason, let's start off with perhaps a backstory, 30 seconds, a minute or so. How did you get into this and what do you do? Tell us your journey to date.
Sure. That's a great question to jump in with. So I was not like many people of the world of mental health. And in 2008, when the economy crashed, I was in real estate and heavy highway road construction. And through a series of setbacks, just sort of began to lose my way. And over the course of the next few years, the erosion of the economy and my businesses and a lifetime of work, I went through what most people would call a breakdown. And that took about 3 years after the economy had crashed for that to fully play out. And I can lovingly look back on it and say now that it was a breakthrough and set me up to do the work that I'm doing here today. But it was really, a series of events in my life that left me completely flat-footed and unsure of where to turn, what to do, what was I going to do next. And frankly, not to be dark about this, but most men who had achieved the level of success that I had and come from the world that I would not have made it out of that. So I continued walking forward with a mustard seed of faith and knew that if I was going to make it out of the struggles that I had gone through, this dark night of the soul, I was going to show up to serve other people and help them in those darkest times so they didn't go through what I went through. And really that's become foundational for everything that I've done since.
Wow. What a story. You were in kind of with a very successful career and you went through a challenging time, made you kind of realize, reflect, and then kind of you made this now your life's mission of helping others through this. So what's mental health? I don't want to scare anyone saying, man, I don't have any mental health issues. I'm just a normal kind of a person. What's mental health? What's the definition of mental health?
The definition of mental health, I think before we get there, let me back up one step. So a lot of times we have the word mental health and we have the word mental illness, and there's all these other words that we want to put on it. I think it's important for the conversation that we're having today to really differentiate the two. Mental illness is an illness like any other illness you could have that you could be affected with, you could struggle with, could be, a one-time thing or could be over the course of a lifetime. Mental health, from my perspective, I believe is what we have if you have a brain. We all have a brain that lives in our body, therefore we have mental health. And of course, like mental illness, there are again varying degrees of mental health. We can have good mental health or we can have poor mental health or something along a continuum. But I think it's important as we have this conversation today to recognize and level set, we all have mental health. It's not scary. It's not sad. It's not traumatic. It's just the reality of your brain functioning in your body is mental health. The same that physical health would be for your heart or your lungs or the other organs.
Got it. Great. Thanks for clarifying that. So as a business owner myself, there are a lot of challenges running a business. It's got its ups and downs. And with that comes a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety and things associated around those. So, this topic is super relevant, I think, not only for me as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, for any entrepreneur that's trying to keep the lights on and the payroll on and hire employees and make sure the clients and patients and customers are happy. So what are the big things one can do to improve their own mental health with all these challenges that we have going around us?
Yeah, that's a great question. And frankly, I've always been a business owner myself, so I understand that more than anything. And in addition to my work that I do in my nonprofit, I also am a business consultant. So I work with entrepreneurs and business owners all the time. And the thing that I recognize the most that we are so dug into that we often don't recognize is a couple of things. One, I want to affirm that everyone struggles. All of us. I don't care what it is, everyone struggles. Some of us are great at one thing, we may not be as good at others. But the reality is, I think we go into business and we start something for the most part because we're good at something or we have a craft or skill that we think we can bring to the world and do in a way that other people can't. And I think from that understanding, we go wholeheartedly into something and maybe don't fully recognize going in with blinders on that there are going to be things that are going to come up that are going to become challenges for you that will set you back, that will affect your mental health, that will cause struggle in your life. First and foremost, I think many entrepreneurs get one-sided in recognizing that they're the only person that's ever been through this. And I have to say, in working with hundreds of entrepreneurs and business owners at this point, you're not alone. And often just being able to talk about the things that you're challenged with, facing, struggling with, makes such a huge difference. I mean, if you can find a trusted resource, a coach, a consultant, somebody that you can say, hey, this is what I'm dealing with, and this is hard for me. Just having that 20 seconds of courage to be able to put it out there, I think goes a long way. From there, the things that you can do to take care of yourself, I think it starts with looking for things, what's free and available. You know, taking a walk, getting 15 minutes of sun on your head, getting enough sleep, drinking enough water, focused on your nutrition or exercise, like those kind of healthy habits that we can implement into our life, whether you have good or bad mental health is irrelevant. Those are just healthy tools that help us live a more balanced life. And I think from that perspective, if somebody recognizes it from that place, I think you have a better chance of showing up at kind of a more even level place. So when those challenges or struggles come at you, you're better equipped to handle the ups and downs of life.
Yeah, that's so true. I love the list that you provided, and we sometimes forget about it. And case in point with me is this was a very stressful 10 days in my organization. And I'm traveling and I get a lot of release, a lot of relaxation, a stress reliever for me when I play sports.
Right.
And so I'm traveling, as I shared with you. And today it's kind of like, man, I should go for a swim, and then I did. And it feels so good to have, because it's part of my DNA. I mean, I need sports. I usually would play sports, but I'm traveling, so I can't. But swimming is a sport. And this is free. Like swimming in the ocean was free. I didn't get a dime to do that. And we forget that, right?
And I think so many people get focused on it has to be big or it has to be monumental or life changing. And the reality is I don't think, like building a business, I don't think you get the results that you want the first time you do it. So from my perspective, being able to do things with commitment and consistency is what really adds up to the long-term results that most of us are seeking. And when you talk about your own mental health and how you show up in business for yourself, for your employees, I think doing the things that, like you, sports, taking a swim, that you can do committedly and consistently, that to me is key. It's not a one and done. And I think that's where so many of us, we start something and we assume, oh, that didn't work, or it's never going to work, or it's not for me. And it may not be for you, but I don't think you learn that in one or two times of trying something. It's getting in that repetition and that pattern that allows you to really show up for yourself in a different way. And frankly, what I have learned from with many entrepreneurs and business owners that I've worked with is most people leave themselves off the list. They get so devoted to their craft and their skill in delivering to their clients and their customers that they forget, like, if I can't show up for myself first, I'm not fully showing up for anybody else. And I think that's a really important differentiator for people to bring to the conversation when I have done this to take care of me. You went for a swim before we had this call today. I'm guessing the energy you bring to this call is different than it might have been had you not done that. And being able to draw on that understanding and experience really adds to the richness and fullness of getting the life that you want.
So true. So good. Okay. How can people release blocks and limitations to move forward in their lives, in their business careers?
Releasing blocks and limitations is an interesting thing because we all have them. I mean, I go back to my tagline is everyone struggles. blocks or limitations are basically forms of struggle. And the truth is, for most people, it starts with a willingness to show up and look at what's blocking you or what's limiting you or holding you back. And I have found that people get so dug in on, I don't want to deal with that because it's going to undo me and I don't know what the consequences are going to be, or it's going to be too scary, or I don't have the tools to deal with that. And I will say, and having done this work for more than a decade now, the stuff that we think is going to scare us the most usually is the easiest to fix. It's the stuff that wakes you up in the middle of the night that you never saw coming, that upends most people. But I think it starts with a willingness to look at it. A, again, to go back and recognize you're not alone. And then B, to say, okay, this is something that I need some help or support with, and figuring out what are the resources that you already have available to you. Is there somebody that can help you that you know in your circle? And if not, find somebody else. I guarantee you, anything you're struggling with in life, there is somebody that has been there and or worse. And they will meet you at that place and guide you through that and help you get through things in times that you never thought that you could have, in the way that you're empowering yourself to get through it.
Mm, yeah, that's true. What are the common obstacles that you see, when you're working with people that we can learn from?
I think the thing that I see a lot goes back to this blocks and limitations. It's getting dug into that is going to be too hard or too scary, and I can't deal with it, or I don't have the depth or the bandwidth to deal with that right now. I also think people thinking that they are alone and they are the only person that has struggled with this problem. So they sit and ruminate these things, which, as you know, most things don't normally get better ruminating in your head. And I think an unwillingness to ask for help or support. I think it's no different than somebody showing up, seeking your services in your business because they need them for their business. I don't know why we can't normalize, if we're struggling with something, ask for help. I don't think that's weakness. I actually think that is the personification of real strength. What I have recognized in many people, myself included, is just because you're good at something in business doesn't mean that every aspect of your life is going to go well. So often you see people that have personal relationships that fail, or they struggle in family relationships or with friend relationships, etc. They may be really great at their craft or in business, but there's something else that's missing. I think the longer you dismiss paying attention to the things that don't work, the harder it is to fix them. So frankly, I don't know why people wait so long, because I truly do believe anybody has the opportunity to get the results they seek in their lives if they're willing to put in the work for it. I'm not saying you're going to be a master at personal relationships all of a sudden, but if that's a priority to you and that's important, or making family a priority more than you've made your business, like, those are things that are fixable.
Right, right. Yeah, I don't know why entrepreneurs think that they've got to do it alone. There was one of my mentors many years back. He said the entrepreneur is the loneliest person on earth. And as an entrepreneur, I could kind of see how true that was, because the entrepreneur, the owner, they don't have, the spouse is tired of listening, having conversation about business. So they get a deaf ear there. Their employees, they're in a different, whatever, in a different realm that, they don't want to talk about the owner issues. Can't talk to, your clients or customers or patients about it. So entrepreneurs just, puts themselves in this dark corner, or, where they don't have the support. They're not able to talk about what's going on. And I think that's really important to be part of, a mastermind, or, have a confidant, a business coach, whatever that may be, a life coach, that you can really have these types of, conversations. It's so important to do that, right?
Absolutely. And, I'm such a huge fan of that. I mean, I think about the team that keeps me propped up to do what I do. It is built on this foundation of knowing that I don't have all the answers. I may be great at what I do in business, and I may be great at helping you get unstuck in your problems. And I'm really good at helping people get unstuck and move forward professionally. But at the end of the day, I think we get limited in our own narrative and whatever trash that we're going around with in our head, that we sometimes forget that the highest highs that we have achieved as entrepreneurs can have equally dark-sided lows. And if you don't have a foundation of support, I think it makes it really tough, not only for you to show up for the people that are important in your lives, but I also think it has a negative impact on your business. I think
Mm,
most people forget that as entrepreneurs, you are the center of your business. For many people, for a long, long time. For some, there are exit strategies that move them into different roles, but recognizing that your health and well being is front and center to everything else in your orbit, I think is really important for people to recognize and pay attention to and take action on if there's something that is holding them back.
yeah, yeah. What are underserved communities in mental health awareness?
Oh gosh, there's so many. So I do a lot of work in the responder community. I do a lot of work with teens and youth. What I tend to look at when we go in to serve a population is what are the populations that statistically have really high anxiety, depression rates, suicidal ideation, suicidal completion, substance abuse and misuse disorders. I tend to look at like what are the key determinants that we can see that communities are struggling in.
Mm,
And frankly, I think through the pandemic that we've all just been through, and then the integration of technology that we've been adapting to over the course of the last couple of decades, I think the world just moves at a faster pace. And I think we have assumed that being tethered to a device is connection. And the reality is there is no replacement for conversation. There is no
mm,
replacement for sitting down with a friend at lunch and talking about what's going on. And we have entire generations, youth specifically, that are
mm.
building their esteem and their value set from a highlight reel of the best moments that somebody's chosen to post that they follow. And I think that's really dangerous. And I don't think that's just a youth problem. I think as adults, we've adapted to that also.
Mm.
It has created an awareness and a vulnerability that is a really high need to perform. And I don't think that that has played out well. And I do think that we will see a resignation from some of that in a different direction. It will look much different than where we came from. But frankly, I think everybody's at risk of being vulnerable. And I think the pandemic showed us that.
Right.
Yeah,
Where does it all go? It gets worse with technology.
yeah, I think it does. Well, what's happening is we have generations that are being raised with technology from the very beginning, and scientifically, our brains do not mature as fast as the information that we are receiving or as quickly. So there's that. But we also have entire generations of adults that are trying to adapt into technology and raise kids. So there's this huge chasm between the two of I don't
Mm,
understand and want to know that I'm showing up to support you, and I know more than you do and leave me alone. And it's like there's this delicate balance that I think we have to get back to and to be able to better support any generation in how do we navigate and live in this real world. But I think it starts with recognizing that what we perceive as connection in our phone is not genuine, real connection. I'm not
mm.
saying you can't get that by connecting with loved ones or friends that you know, but the limitlessness that technology has given us, I think has created this vacuum that we live in, that we assume a lot of things that
Yeah.
really aren't real.
Yeah. 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 So we're coming to the end of the call, Jason. Give us kind of a quick a recap of sorts or final words of wisdom. And I do want to ask you as a final question, how can people connect with you and so forth? But I kind of bring it all back to us in terms of mental health and what can we do, you know, words of wisdom to become more healthier with mental health.
Sure. I think first and foremost, it is okay to ask for help. It is okay to recognize that you are struggling or you don't have the answer to something, to reach out and find somebody that can help you. And if you don't know how to find somebody that can help you, ask somebody that you trust and say, "This is what I'm dealing with. Do you know how I get some support?" The internet is a wide place. There are vast arrays of things to find there, good and bad, but there are some really valuable resources if somebody is struggling. I think recognizing you're not alone and asking for help, to me, those are foundational to changing everything. People don't have to sit in their struggle. And recognizing that and taking action to do something about it is really, frankly, it's where the magic happens. As
Mm,
much as I would love to undo a bad 2 or 3 years in my life that literally lost me a lifetime of work, I have to say what it created an open space for because of that.
Mhm.
I never could have imagined that for myself. And yes, there were years of sheer hell that I went through to get to this place, but it was all meant to be. And I
Yeah.
think if you show up recognizing that the things that are in your life are there for a reason, good or bad, you will learn something about yourself. It will change you, and how you show up for yourself, the people you love, and the world that you're interacting in, it will be different and
Yeah.
likely better.
It's awesome. Good stuff. Thank you so much, Jason. How can folks reach out to you? What's the best way
So
for them
I'm
to
super
connect with
easy
you?
to find. I'm on all of the platforms under Jason Hopcus. My last name's Hopcus. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, any of the platforms you can find me on. And my organization, I'm involved with the National Alliance on Mental Illness for Arapahoe Douglas counties. Our website is namiadco.org. We have a lot of great mental health resources there. And then my personal business is Connection Project. You can find me at realpeoplereallife.org. There's outreach opportunities on both of those websites. I'm super responsive. So if you need something, and if you're a business owner and you're struggling and want some direction or guidance, I am certainly somebody that is adept at helping with that. Reach out. Like, you are not alone.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Jason. Really appreciate it. This is amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity, Salim.
Take care.
Have a great day.